Maya here from My Storybook, and welcome to today's interactive read aloud. Today I have a very inspirational story to share with you about an incredible figure in history, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a Supreme Court judge who actually just passed away fairly recently. So I have a story that I would love to share that honors her life, tells us about her life, tells us about all the challenges she overcame to become a Supreme Court judge, someone who helps decide what is right and wrong in the United States, and how she used her position to help make the world a better place, especially for women. At the end of this video, there is a very fun craft to go along with it where you will also get to be a little bit like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or as we call her, RBG for short, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG, and you'll get to be sharing some of your opinions, her opinions about what she believed were just, what were right, and what were unjust, what were wrong. Are you ready to learn about RBG? Give me a double thumbs up if you are. Excellent. Let's get started. So the title of today's featured read is I Dissent. And I dissent. Dissent means that I disagree. So if you say I dissent, that means I disagree. My friends, you try to say it. I dissent. All right. So next time you disagree with something, you can say I dissent. I disagree. Ruth Bader Ginsburg makes her mark. So this is about her making her mark in history. We're going to learn about how she helped change the United States. And this book was written by Debbie Levy and illustrated by Elizabeth Baddeley. So these are the author and illustrator who wrote and drew the pictures. And if I take a look here at the cover, that is Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And notice what she's wearing. What is she wearing? Right, she's wearing, it seems like this is actually a black robe. When you're a judge, you wear these black robes, these long pieces of clothing. And if you notice, she has this fancy collar, and we'll learn more about that collar in this story. Kind of like how I have a nice collar, but hers is very special. And who do you think this little one is over here? I'm thinking that might actually be Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG, but when she was a little girl, okay? So since this is about her life, a biography book. A biography is a book about someone's life. They put her, of course, on the cover. Well, let's learn about what amazing things Ruth Bader Ginsburg did. So here's our title page. I Dissent has the title of our book. It has our author and illustrator who published the book. Simon Kids helped put the book together so we could read it. And, oh, who is this? That must be RBG. You can call her RBG for short. Remember, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG, as a little girl. And what is she doing? Reading. Ooh, she must have been a reader. Reading helps you learn so much, and she was a very smart woman. Let's get started. You could say that Ruth Bader Ginsburg's life had been one disagreement after another. And here are some things that she maybe disagreed with. Let's see what they say. Disagreement with creaky old ideas. Oh, so there are some old ideas that she thinks aren't so good anymore. My friends, are there any old ideas you think from a long time ago that probably aren't such good ideas anymore? What do you think? So you disagree with those ideas. Disagreement with creaky old ideas, with unfairness, with inequality. Ruth has disagreed, disapproved, and differed. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg has disagreed, she disapproves, she doesn't think it's right. She has objected. These are all excellent ways to say disagree. Disapproved, deferred, objected. She has resisted. She's not going to give in, she's going to fight back. She has dissented. That word from the beginning. Dissent means what? To disagree. She dissented, objected, disagreed, disapproved. Disagreeable? No. But was she disagreeable? Meaning she just didn't agree with anything? No. But was she determined? Yes. Determined means you always are going to fight hard for what you believe in and never give up. She was very determined. Yes. She wanted to fight for what she believed was right. This is how Ruth Bader Ginsburg changed her life and out. In 1940, Little Ruth's neighborhood was vibrant with immigrants. So immigrants are people who moved to the United States from a different country. They're new to this country. People from Italy, Ireland, England, Poland, and Germany. My friends, do you know where your family immigrated from? What country they came from? Oh, my parents immigrated from Vietnam and the Philippines when they were kids, so I was born here. Jews from Russia, like Ruth's father, Nathan Bader, people from different cultures with different holidays, foods, and traditions. But in all these families in Brooklyn, New York, and in families everywhere, one thing was the same. Boys were expected to grow up and go out in the world and do big things. But girls? What do you think girls were expected to do? Way back then, girls were expected to just find husbands. So that means that girls were just supposed to get married and not go out and do big things. What do you think about that? Do you dissent to that? Do you disagree with that? If you disagree, say, I dissent. Right? I dissent. I disagree with that for sure. Girls should be able to do whatever they want. Oh, and here you go. Ruth's mother disagreed. So she's like, girls should be able to do what they want. She disagreed, and I wonder where she's taking Ruth right now. A library. Celia Amster Bader, so Ruth's mama, thought girls should also have the chance to make their mark on the world. So she took Ruth to the library. So even though everyone else said, oh, girls aren't supposed to learn, only boys, Ruth's mama said, nope, Ruth's going to learn and she's going to make her mark. She's going to make a difference. On the shelves were stories of girls and women who did big things. Ruth read about Nancy Drew, girl detective. My friends, have you read about Nancy Drew? Well, if you haven't, Nancy Drew is a very fun detective story. I recommend it a lot. Even RBG liked it. She discovered Amelia Earhart, daring aviator, daring person who flew the airplane, first woman to fly the airplane. She learned of Athena, goddess of Greek myths. Here were independent girls and women taking charge. Ruth read her way into this world. Around her, the sweet scent of books and blended with savory aromas from the Chinese restaurant downstairs. Delicious. A girl could be anything. So she's reading these books, she's smelling yummy Chinese food, and she's getting inspired by all these incredible women. My friends, is there a woman out there who inspires you? Maybe someone famous or someone in your family or someone you know who you think they are so incredible, you want to be just like them when you grow up, or you want to make change like them. Who inspires you? But sometimes Ruth and her parents took car trips out of the crowded city, and as they drove past a hotel in Pennsylvania, Ruth saw a sign that said, no dogs or Jews allowed. So no dogs or Jews. They put Jews with the dogs. So remember, friends, Jews is a type of religion. So if you believe in Judaism, a type of religion, then you are a Jew. And unfortunately, back then, people didn't like people who were Jews and believed in something different from them. That's why they're saying no dogs and no Jews. They kept Jews separate. And remember, RBG was a Jew. This is how it was in those days. Hotels, restaurants, even entire neighborhoods announcing, no Jews, no colored people, so no black people, no Mexicans, whites only, no, white only, not welcome, not allowed. So seems like back then, who were the only people who were allowed to go to these places? Seems like only white people, right? Whites only, no Mexicans, no black people, no Jews, probably no Asians either. Ruth and her family were Jewish. This was prejudice, pure and simple. So prejudice means when you do not like someone just because of what they believe in or what they look like. Now it was Ruth's turn to disagree. She disagreed by never forgetting how it felt to read such words. She never forgot the sting of prejudice. She's going to carry that feeling with her. And what do you think she's going to do with that feeling of anger and disagreement that people are being so unfair? Maybe she's going to try to change the rules, right? In elementary school, Ruth was excellent in some classes and less excellent in others. Her favorite were English, history, and gym. In those, she did well. My friends, what are your favorite things to learn about in school? Nice. Maybe some of you have some similar to RBG. But then there was handwriting. Ruth was left-handed. Back then, teachers told left-handers they should try to write with their right hands. Ruth's right-handed penmanship was so bad, she was so bad at writing with her right hand, she earned a D on her penmanship test. She cried. So she got a D, which is a very, very bad grade. F is the worst grade, and D is right above F, so that's not very good. Oh man, my friends, what hand do you write with, your left or your right? Well, if you were left-handed way back then, they didn't let you write with your left hand. For some reason, they thought that was bad. But we know today, right? It doesn't matter what hand you write with. You can write with whichever works best for you. Well, you know what? Then Ruth protested. She fought back. She said, this is not fair. Ruth protested by writing with her left hand from that day forward. So even if teacher says not to, she's going to write with it anyways. And it turned out she had quite nice handwriting when she actually got to use her right. When she actually got to use the hand she was supposed to, right? Good for her. So she's like, that's a ridiculous rule, right? What kind of rule is that? I'm going to do what I want to do, what works best for me. Nice job, Ruth. Ruth also had a little problem with sewing and cooking. These were her least favorite classes, but girls had to take them. Boys took shop where they worked with saws and other tools. So back then in school, girls had to learn how to cook and sew because people thought those were things that girls should do, where boys got to do things like build things with tools and saws. Does that seem fair that only boys could do that and only girls could do the other one? Not really, right? If a boy wants to cook and sew, they should be able to cook and sew. And if a girl wants to do woodshop, they should be able to do woodshop. I dissent to girls and boys only being able to do certain things. Do you? Yeah. She wanted to take shop. She wanted to handle a saw. She didn't get what she wanted. It may have been unfair to girls and to boys, but Ruth was learning that sometimes life was like that. So, sometimes, friends, life is just unfair. And even when you try, it might not always work out how it should. But that doesn't mean you don't ever try. You should always try. Is there something that you think is unfair, maybe between girls and boys, or something you've noticed is unfair that you think shouldn't be that way? Well, you should say something about it, right? Stand up for it and protest like Ruth. Ruth loved music. She especially loved the opera, and in music class, she lifted her voice and sung. Do you like to sing? Oh, I like to sing. This time, it was Ruth's music teacher who objected, who said, no, I don't think so. Gently, though. Ruth simply could not carry a tune. She didn't actually sing that well, didn't sound that good. So teacher asked Ruth not to sing out loud in the chorus. Ruth kept on singing though. In the shower and in her dreams, she continued to adore the opera too. So even though teacher told her, you don't sound that good, she didn't stop singing. She just kept singing for fun because she loved it so much. By the time Ruth was in high school, friends and teachers knew her as an outstanding student, a baton twirler, a cello player, so she played an instrument, and a newspaper editor, all those things. As graduation approached, Ruth was chosen to make a speech at this ceremony, but she had been keeping a big secret. Her mother was terribly sick, and the day before graduation, Celia Bader died. Oh no, remember how important her mom was to her, helping her learn and make her mark? How are they feeling? So sad. Do you think if her mom just died, she's going to go give that speech? There is no agreeing with this. There is no disagreeing with this. If someone dies, you can't agree or disagree. They just died. This simply was. It's just the way it is. Ruth did not go to her graduation. She did not give her speech. But still, Ruth knew what her mother wanted. 3 months later, she left home to go to college. My friends, do you want to go to college? You learn so many things in college. Not many girls went to college in the 1950s, so Ruth made friends, but she also met girls who excluded Jews, who left Jews out from their clubs, who didn't let Jews join. She met boys who thought girls should be looking for husbands, and then she met Martin Ginsburg. So it sounds like she went to college, and since not a lot of girls went, people were like, what are you doing here? But then she met a Martin Ginsburg. Who do you think this Martin Ginsburg is? They look like they like each other. Marty was tall and funny, and Ruth was small and serious. Marty could make her laugh, and they fell in love and hatched a plan. After college, they would go to law school. Both of them, lawyers, Ruth had learned, could fight unfairness and prejudice in courts. People thought it was a fine idea for Marty to attend law school, but they didn't think Ruth should go. Wait, so why do they think Marty should go to law school, but not Ruth? They're both super smart. Right, because Ruth is a girl and they're like a lady lawyer. people disapprove. They're like, no, ladies shouldn't be lawyers. What do you think about that? Do you dissent or do you agree with that? I dissent. I disagree with that. Women can definitely be lawyers. Ruth disapproved right back. She said, oh, well, if you disapprove of me, I disapprove of you. So did Marty. Marty's like, Ruth can go to law school if she wants. They got married, they went to law school, and they had a baby, Jane. Oh. Wow, so here is Ruth in law school, and what do you notice about her class? Who's in her class? I notice they're all men, right? Ruth looks like she's the only woman in law school. Ruth's law class had a total of 9 women, only 9, and 500 men. Oh, she studied mightily and tied for first place in class, though. Even though there's 500 other men, she was first place. She tied. And yet, at graduation time, no one would hire this brilliant new lawyer. So even though she was the very best one, no one wanted her to work for them. Why not? She's a woman, right? And because she's a Jew, and people still didn't like Jews at that time. That is so unfair, right? People shouldn't, right? Ugh. She was a woman, and men didn't want to work with a woman. She was a mother. Oh, and men thought a mother wouldn't pay attention to work. And she was Jewish, and many people were still prejudiced. 3 strikes against her, but Ruth was not out. She resisted and persisted. So she didn't give in, and she kept on trying. Persisted means never give up. Finally, a judge hired her to work for him, and she worked like mad for him. She worked so hard for him. After that, one law school hired her, and then another. And Ruth became one of the few female professors in the whole country. So after they saw how hard she worked, now all these law schools want her to come teach and work for them. She was one of the very few female professors in the whole country. And she did it with a new baby at home, James. So now not only does she have 1 baby, she has 2. But does that matter, my friends? Can women still work even if they have kids? Of course they can. Some women choose to stay home with their kids, and that's an important job too. But if you want to go get a job outside of the home too, women can also do that. Ruth had disagreed and worked her way into being a lawyer and professor. But around her, other women were excluded from jobs. Even though she was able to, a lot of women still couldn't. When they did get their jobs, they earned less than men. So back then, and sometimes even now, women, even if they did the same exact job as a man, would get paid less money. They wouldn't make as much money. Does that sound fair? They were kept out of important roles in courts and government. And to make matters worse, the Supreme Court of the United States, the Supreme Court is the one who helps make all the rules for the United States. The highest court in the land approved of all of this. So the United States, the people who decided all the rules said, that's okay, women can make less. That Supreme Court doesn't sound very fair to me. As one Supreme Court justice had written years ago, the natural and proper timidity and delicacy which belongs to the female sex evidently unfits it for many of the occupations of civil life. Well, that was a whole mouthful. So what he's saying is, since females and women are so delicate and small and shy, that they won't be able to be in the workforce because it's too hard for them. What do you think about that? Do you dissent or do you agree? I dissent. In other words, women and girls were too shy and weak to do big things in the world. Another Supreme Court opinion declared, woman has always been dependent upon man, so woman always needs man to help her out. Well, Ruth really disagreed with that, and I do too. No way. Women can do whatever they need to do. So Ruth went to the court to fight for equal treatment of women. Women should be paid the same and get to do the big jobs too. The most important cases went to the Supreme Court, and the first time she appeared there, Ruth was so nervous she feared she might be sick. But standing before the 9 Supreme Court justices, Ruth imagined them as her students. She, Professor Ginsburg, needed to teach these students, who were all men, why a person's choices shouldn't be limited just because she was born a girl. So just because you're a girl doesn't mean you don't get as many choices as a man. Everyone should have equal choices. And look at all of these judges, right? What do you notice about them? All men. There's all these men making the rules about women. Does that seem right? Why does men get to make rules for women? But Ruth wasn't only fighting for women. When women were excluded from the work life, men were excluded from home life. Why shouldn't a father stay home to care for his children and cook them meals? Why shouldn't his wife run a business? These were fresh ideas in the 1970s. So women couldn't work, but that also meant that men weren't allowed to stay home and take care of the kids, which isn't fair either. If they want to stay home and cook and do that important job, they should be able to too. Ruth did not win every case, but she won enough. And with each victory, women and men and girls and boys enjoyed a little more equality. So she's going to fight for what she believes in, that men and women should be able to do whatever they want. Sometimes Ruth and Marty's children received confused looks when they said that their mother argued cases in the Supreme Court and their father made the family's dinners. People found this strange. Why do they think it's strange the mom goes and fights Supreme Court and does all this work and dad cooks at home? Right? Because back then it was opposite. Usually the man went out and the woman stayed home, but not in their family. How about in your family, my friends? What does mom and dad do? Or what do you, the grown-ups in your family, do? Well, each family is different. And again, there's no wrong thing for moms and dads and families and older people to do. It's just that they should be able to do what they want to do. Ruth, Marty, Jane, and James did not concur. They didn't think this was strange. They kept on being the type of family they wanted to be, and dinners at the Ginsburg home were delicious. Marty was a successful lawyer, so he did work too, but also a marvelous chef who had mastered the art of French cooking. Ruth, her family knew, had mastered the art of burnt pot roast. So is Ruth very good at cooking if she's burning pot roast? No, we can infer, we can figure out that Ruth was not a good cook. It's a good thing Marty was. Ruth became well known as a lawyer, so well known that President Jimmy Carter chose her to be a judge in Washington, D.C. So a judge means that you now get to decide who is right and who is wrong. A lawyer tries to convince the judge of what is right and what is wrong. The judge is the one who actually gets to pick who is right and wrong. Ooh, so that's more powerful now. Then Ruth became known as a first-rate judge, an excellent judge, and President Bill Clinton asked her to be a justice on the Supreme Court. So the very top judges in the whole country, these are the people who make all the rules and decide what's wrong and what's right for the whole country. They have the biggest job about that. Along with the 8 other Supreme Court justices, her job would be to decide the most significant, the most important cases and rules, and answer the most difficult questions in the United States. And what do you think Ruth said to that? Do you think she agreed? Or did she dissent? She agreed. In 1993, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg became the first Jewish woman on the nation. And what do you think about that? What did she say? Did she dissent or did she agree? Ruth agreed, and in 1993, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg became the first Jewish woman on the nation's highest court. Wow. Even all these people have been telling her, you can't do it, you're Jewish, you're a woman. Now she is one of the first Jewish women to be one of the best, highest judges in the country. Ooh, what do you notice here? She's wearing some different fancy collars. Let's see what these collars mean. In each case, the Supreme Court considers, after hearing from lawyers who argue for each side, the 9 justices take a vote. So when the lawyers come to the Supreme Court and they tell them, this is what I think, this is what I think, then the 9 judges get to decide and they vote on what they think, and they vote on who they think is right. And the side with the most votes wins. The justice who agrees writes an opinion to explain the court's ruling. So if you agree, you write why you agreed. And when Justice Ginsburg votes with the winning side, she wears a special lace collar over her robe. So whenever she agrees with them and her side wins, she wears a nice collar saying, oh, we won. But many times when the Supreme Court announces the decision, Justice Ginsburg disagrees. I dissent, she says, and she writes her own opinion explaining why. Plus, she wears a different collar just for dissenting. So when she disagrees with what the other judges think, she wears a different collar and she writes down why she thinks they're wrong. So here are some things that the Supreme Court voted that she did not agree with, but unfortunately, they voted more than her. I dissent, Justice Ginsburg said, when the court wouldn't help women or African Americans or immigrants who had been treated unfairly at work. What? Why would they not help them? I dissent too. I dissent when the court rejected a law meant to protect the rights of all citizens to vote no matter their skin color. They didn't even do that. Do you dissent? I dissent. And I dissent when the court said no to schools that offered African Americans a better chance to go to college. Wow, this Supreme Court is not being very fair at all. I dissent in that too. Justice Ginsburg can be very convincing. In one dissent, she explained why the court was wrong to rule against women workers who were fighting to get paid the same as men. Congress and the president agreed with her, and they passed a law to undo the court's ruling. So she was so convincing when she wrote her opinion, when she shared what she thought, that even though the other judges voted against it, she convinced the president and the other people who make laws in Congress to make a new law so that women and men could be paid the same, even though the other people didn't agree with her. That's why you keep on fighting, my friends. Even when you think you've lost, you just keep on trying. Justice Ginsburg had disagreed most often with the legal views of Justice Antonin Scalia. But they didn't just complain. I dissent. No, I dissent. They shared their conflicting ideas, each pointing out weaknesses in the other's arguments, and after their opinions were written, after they wrote down what they thought, the two justices had fun with each other. They didn't let disagreements about law get in the way of a long friendship. So here they are parasailing in France. They went riding on an elephant. So, my friends, even though these two justices, they disagreed with each other a lot, even though they disagreed, they would talk about it. They would say, well, this is what I think, and then they'd listen to the other person say what they think, and then they'd try to understand what the other person was saying, and they might still disagree, but they can talk about it. Just because someone doesn't agree with you doesn't mean you have to argue with them and hate them, right? You can have a different opinion, because they're opinions, and then you can still be friends. Justice Ginsburg is now the oldest member on the Supreme Court, although actually she has now died. She passed away just recently after this book was made, but some people said she should have quit because of her age, because she was so old. But Justice Ginsburg begs to differ. I beg to differ means I disagree. She works as hard as ever. She exercises in the gym, she never misses a day in court, and she attends the opera, gives speeches, and travels. Many have cheered Justice Ginsburg for her persistence and independence. They cheer her for never giving up, for always working hard. They called her a rock star, a queen, a goddess, a hero. Of course, Ruth Bader Ginsburg isn't a rock star, a queen, or a goddess, but to many, she is a hero. She made change happen when she changed minds. She cleared a path for people to follow in her footsteps, for girls to go to college, for women to go to law school, and everyone who wants to be treated without prejudice. For everyone who wants to be treated fairly. Her voice may not carry a tune, so she might not be a good singer, but it sings out for equality. Step by step, she has made a difference. One disagreement after another. The end, my friends. What an inspirational story. So she stood up for what she believed, and even when people were telling her, no, you can't do this, you're a woman, or women shouldn't have equal rights, people of color should not have equal rights, she disagreed, and she said, no, I don't agree with you, and she used her voice to make a change and make a difference. She worked so hard to get where she was, even after everyone told her no. Wow. The end, my friends. What was your favorite part of the story that you learned about? Right? I thought it was so cool that one time where RBG was able to convince the president and Congress to make a law to help women and men be paid equally, even when everyone else disagreed with her. She worked so hard to make change and made sure that she spoke up when she disagreed with something to help make the world more fair and equal, especially for women. So, my friends, this leads us into today's craft, where you are going to be getting to share some of your opinions too. RBG always shared her opinion for what she believed was right and wrong. So let's take a look at how you can also share yours. So for today's craft, I have this gavel craft. And a gavel is something that judges use when they are making a ruling. They bang their gavel and they say, order in the court, or like, I have a ruling, and it's a way for them to get attention, or when they are ready to share something, they bang their gavel on the court. And these are things that judges use. So we have some gavels here where one says, I dissent to mean I disagree, and I concur is another word to say I agree. So I dissent, I disagree, I concur, I agree. So there are two different ones that you can cut out and use. One that says I dissent, or you can put your name, Maya dissents. One that says I concur, or there's one that says Maya concurs. And in these gavels, you can share what your opinion is. What is something that you disagree with, that you think is unfair? and why, in your opinion, is it unfair? Or you can share what is something you do agree with that you think is right and fair, and you can write it down. There's room to draw a picture if you want to, and these are a fun way to share your opinion and use your voice to share what you think is right and what is wrong, just like RBG did. And another fun activity with this is that you can have a teacher or an adult share like different statements about what some people believe, and then you can share if you dissent or if you concur and share your opinion that way too, just by holding these up. And then, of course, if you want to actually share what you wrote about your own opinions, you can. So if you're interested in checking out these crafts, my friends, please check out the link to my blog down below where you'll find the craft directions and the link to that. On the blog, you'll also find other reading resources to go along with other stories. And if you do make these crafts, my friends, please share with me. I'd love to hear your opinions about what you believe is fair and unfair. You can find me on TikTok, on the blog, Instagram, Facebook, here on YouTube, email. All the social media links can be found down below. And if you did enjoy this story, please subscribe to MaiStoryBook's YouTube channel to keep up with all of our interactive read-alouds. But that brings us to the end of today's reading adventure, my friends. So I hope you join us next time for our next read aloud. But until then, happy reading!